Hey everyone, this is Pharaoh Silver, and I'm not going to do my usual introduction. I know y'all are a little sick of Atlas Earth videos, and I said that last one was going to be on Monday, but this video I feel like I've been wanting to do for the last couple days, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. This is my proposal for fixing Atlas Earth minigames for international players. So first off, I'm going to explain exactly what the problem is, in case you are not into minigames. So I will go ahead and do that right now. So the issue is that even though players in the United States are doing pretty decently with minigames, having pot sizes somewhere in six figures still, following the changes, international players have much smaller pot sizes, some as low as 10,000. I've heard some even lower than that. And part of that is because of their country. So they're going to have a much lower participation rate, partially because they are more recent, so their country came out more recently, and since they have a smaller population, their growth isn't as big in numbers as the United States is. As a matter of fact, I believe the only country where there isn't this issue, or at least, less of an issue, is Germany. Germany has been getting pretty decent pot sizes for an international player, but it's still nowhere near what the United States is getting. And I know that these minigames is one way for players to earn Atlas Bucks. Matter of fact, it's probably the biggest way to earn Atlas Bucks. And normally, I talk about Atlas Earth in the sense of money. So how can I get the most money out of it? Well, since Atlas Bucks buys parcels, which buys the money directly, technically this plus now with Atlas Bucks, minigames now being free, it is now officially an actual strategy to play minigames, if only to get the challenges done so that you can get more Atlas Bucks from the challenges, and those challenges will net you as many as, 1,000 extra Atlas Bucks if you're paying for the premium pass, or I think you're getting like 200 if you're just doing it for free, which most of you should be on the free-to-play route anyway, which is an extra 2 parcels a month, so it's actually kind of important to get that done. So the other problem, too, with other countries, as I mentioned before, the United States is a big country. We have about 350 million people, closing in on 400 million people. We are the third, I think we're still the third most populous country, I believe. Yeah, something like that, the third most populous country. So we're obviously going to have an advantage just in terms of sheer numbers for participation. Also, you have to know that the US is basically the country that gets the highest ad rates, bar none, and it is not even close. That's part of the reason why we're doing so well in terms of Atlas Bucks, because Atlas Earth is an ad revenue kind of game. So when we watch an ad, it is worth to them anywhere between 2 to 3 times more than if it were, say, in Canada or in Japan or Mexico, or any other country, basically, that is Tier 1. I believe the Tier 2 countries, Mexico's a Tier 2 country. Tier 2 countries is even lower than Tier 1, but the chasm between us and a Tier 1 country is more than that of a Tier 1 country like the UK or Canada versus a Tier 2 country like Mexico or Japan. And by the way, I'm actually kind of surprised Japan was a Tier 2 country as well in advertising. That one came just a complete surprise to me. So that might explain also why their payout tables are much lower than, the global tier like Canada and South Africa. So since these countries have lower populations, I believe, I'm going to double check here. I believe Canada has a, let me check here. One moment. What's Canada's population? I'm checking this up. 40 million. So Canada's population is 40 million. Let me check the UK's population. 68 million. So compare that to the US population, 340 million. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, it's not quite 350 million. So like all of these countries combined, all right, Canada, like I think 6 UKs can fit inside the US. 8 Canadas can fit inside the US as far as population is concerned. So the participation is just not going to be there. The terms of sheer numbers is just not going to be there. And then with the lower ad rates, that's going to cause even lower participation rates for those countries. So my proposal instead of doing the Atlas Earth minigames by country, I would do them by region. And the way that I would cut off the region is base them off time zones. So I'm going to start first off with tier 1. And that tier 1 is, I should say region 1. We're not going to call these tiers because they're all going to be different regions. So the way that I would cut them up currently into different regions would be, the first region would be the United States. So we can have our own region just because our ad rates are just so much more than other countries. It just wouldn't be fair to add more countries to that because then like they'd be able to take advantage of the US's ad rates. And it would kind of make the company lose money accordingly. So the US is just going to be its own thing for tier number 1. Now let me get another color here for tier number 2. All right, so tier 2 is going to be basically all the countries that are in the same time zone, or at least relatively in the same time zone, because not entirely, but relatively the same time zone as the United States. So right now, those countries are Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. And those 3 combined would be able to get enough participation to build up, I think, enough of a pot for that region right now. We'll talk about an example. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about an example of like how these countries are at the very end of this video. Now, that is the second region. Now, let me go to the third region here. I'm going to use another color. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think it matters what color it is, honestly. I don't think you guys would really care all that much. So the third region would be the entire United Kingdom. All right, so that's going to be 70 million total. I would probably throw in France and Spain and basically anything kind of on this west side here. I don't think Portugal is out right now, but Portugal would be on this list. And probably, I'm going to go ahead and throw the Netherlands on this as well. Although I think I would put them in the next region. I'm not entirely sure. And part of this is because I'm wanting to set up like certain time zones, right? Certain time zone cutoffs. Now, Spain and France are in the same time zone as like the rest of this area. I guess you could probably throw in Germany, but the thing is, Germany has enough participation at this point that I would actually kind of throw it into another region with some other countries that could use the bit of the boost. So Germany, once Italy comes out, I know that Italy is going to be coming out sometime in the near future, so I would throw in Italy. And then, like, you know, some of the other ones right here that I would probably count on here, probably South Africa as well. I think a lot of this depends on once you have mapped out how many countries you plan to have in this game. That would be a way to kind of gather up the regions. But the only issue with South Africa is just kind of its distance to where the other servers are. They got to make sure that they have a server set up properly so that they can talk to each other and that, you know, scores are set up accordingly, because the distance and the latency could be much larger. But I could see kind of Germany, Italy, and South Africa kind of on a similar playing field with the time zone somewhat similar. Maybe once you start adding on some Eastern European countries, maybe Turkey, maybe the Middle East, they can kind of clean up the rest of this area here. When I know that India is somewhere in their future, it would be one of the only other places I would think that would have its own region. So just someday, if they have India as a region, I would probably make India its own region. Part of the reason why I'm talking about India, even though it's not on Atlas Earth right now, is because, again, I'm just giving an example of like what other countries could be their own region, like in India, like a China, if China even allows that, which, you know, I don't think they'll ever go to China, but India is definitely a possibility. They have 4 times the population, and even if ad rates are, say, a fourth of what they are here in the United States, they're going to have 4 times the participation, so the ad revenues are going to be, I would say, pretty similar, or at least pretty close to being similar. The final region, and I'm going to put the color here, do this. So in the final region, I'm going to go ahead and actually get rid of, can I just like not put India? Okay, just assume that India, I didn't color it, all right? Because it is not in Atlas Earth just yet. I'm going to have to repeat that over and over in this video, but yeah, they are not yet. But I'm going to go ahead and do the final color now. I'm going to use yellow for this one. And that's going to be, nah, I'll use something else because it doesn't really show with the white. I wanted something darker. Let's just use, okay, I'll just use black for it. Forget it. All right, so the final color, oh geez, there we go. Would go to Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, basically the entire Asian region. So with that, again, because they're just so separate in time zone from the rest of the world, it would make sense to kind of have them in one region as well. So I'm doing it based off of time zones. The Europe one's a little bit weird. I mean, you could probably put Germany and Italy kind of in the same group as the rest of Europe here and just have its own region. It would kind of suck for South Africa, though, because they would basically be by themselves right now until, you know, some of the Eastern European countries or the Middle East starts coming in. Like they could probably join that group, and then maybe then, you know, Germany and Italy could probably belong here, and South Africa is just going to have to endure until some Middle Eastern countries come into the fray. Let's see if we did that. What would it look like? Let me check this here. So if we did, oh no, this is not what I wanted. This one. There we go. Okay, so if we did something like this, then the time zones, and we're going to have to, and just ignore India, again, not in Atlas Earth. I was just giving an example on that one. But you can see how, like, the time zones for each one really do kind of differ. So let's just say that they want to try to get a new country in. They can figure out which region they want to put them in, like, immediately. So, for example, you know, Portugal comes out, it goes into the European region. If say, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or what would be, you know, UAE comes out, they'd be put into the Eastern European / Middle Eastern region. You know, the Singapore comes out, it'd be put into the Asian region. There are certain countries, Argentina would probably be here in the North American region. So you could base it based off of time zones, and plus it would cause larger pots as well. So let's say, for example, Canada's pot is like 17,000, Mexico's is sitting at about 15,000, and Brazil's is sitting at about 10,000, right? So we're going to take away 3,000 from each one. So they each had users contribute to the pot of 14,000, 12,000, and 7,000. Combine them together for a total of 33,000, add on the 3,000 pot, and it's a 36,000 pot. Statistically, this is going to look a lot more attractive to these countries to see a 36,000 Atlas Bug pot, even though they're going to have more participation. It will also help that I've heard from international players that there have been, like, they could go several minutes before finding a game. I don't know if this is still the case for many of them, but that would disappear if they are getting more participation. So more participating players will allow you to have, like, someone from Canada take on Mexico. And they could arrange something where, like, they would still have priority, or you play within your own country. But if they can't find anyone within their own country, then they would go and check players within the region in that mini game and see if they can find a player there instead. So, you know, every once in a while you'll have someone from Brazil taking on someone from Canada, or someone from Mexico taking on someone from Brazil, or someone from Spain taking on someone from Italy, as an example. Let me know what you think about this idea, if you think that this is a good idea to kind of increase pot sizes, even and increase participation just in general, you know? Because I know the participation is extremely bad, and I know a lot of players have been talking about, like, they didn't want to play anymore because the amount of Atlas bucks just doesn't matter. Well, you know, as an example here, having a 35 to 40K pot as a final, while not as much as the United States, is still going to give you like 170 Atlas bucks or something for top 25. So finishing top 25 would actually matter and get you something at least, you know what I mean? And then for like Europe, depending on how you slice it, you could put Germany kind of in with the, you know, Eastern European, Middle Eastern block if you wanted to, or you could have it with the European block and make a massive pot here that would almost rival the United States. Well, okay, maybe not quite right now, but it would be up there, I feel like. But yeah, this is my proposal. Let me know what you think regarding this. And again, I actually posted this into Atlas Earth's Discord in their feedback channel. This is kind of a modified version of it because I think I had only 4 regions on that one. I'm looking at like 6, maybe 7 if they find a way into China, but I know China has certain policies that might not be something that they would agree with. But yeah, so there'd be like this would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regions. Let me know what you think about this. If you think this is a good idea. That's pretty much it, everyone. Like this video, comment what you think of this proposal. If you do anything different. Also, thank you to the Patreons as well. Y'all are awesome. If you want a shout out as well, go to patreon.com/beermoneynetwork. And also, I'm doing some behind the scenes stuff on that as well. Yeah, that's pretty much, I guess this isn't really a rant. This is way too polished to be a rant for me. But yeah, this is pretty much the video, everyone. So enjoy. I will see you all on Saturday for the big challenge video. We're finally going to have a few videos away from Atlas Earth. I will see you all then. Bye, everybody.